Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Exalted One and welcome back to Heroes University. Today we are going over the basic hero types or roles in the game. We'll break down each category further later, but right now we just want to focus on the basic roles you can choose to fill. Currently there are 4 types or classes of hero within Heroes of the Storm. There's going to be support, we have tank, we have assassin, and finally, specialist. Now this is as of the game right now. They are looking to reclassify heroes in a different manner. But each type is near integral to a successful team, and they provide vastly different benefits to their respective teams. Now first up, we have support. Now support in general heals or shields their allies. It's not really intended to be a role that does significant damage. It is, for the most part, in any standard team composition, mandatory. You do usually need a healer to be able to help your sustain damage, because if your team is able to stay alive and stay in the fight, they're able to do damage. And the role mainly supports your team and commonly has some kind of crowd control to secure kills. Now whether that's Malfurion's Roots, whether or not that's Uther's Stun, Tyranda's Stun that has range, or Tassador's Wall even. They usually have some kind of ability that grants them some blocking or stun capability against the enemy team, and that helps secure kills. Now currently in the game, there's a few that most are used overall, but a couple that are very common right now. We have Malfurion, we have Uther, we have Rhaegar, and we have Tassadar. These are very strong heroes that are in this the support role. Now, Tassadar himself is more unique than most. He doesn't directly provide health. What he does is provide shields. Those shields, while they're active, are able to gain health depending on his talents. So a little bit of difference between each individual healer, and their abilities are obviously quite substantially different. They all feel very, very unique. But these are 4 of some of the top healers in the game at the moment, or top support characters. The next hero type that we have is going to be the tank, or warrior, as it's called. Now, they're not all referenced as tanks because they can be quite substantially different. Now, in general, though, a tank or a warrior does do a few different things. They are mostly a frontline hero. They are intended to be on the front lines, securing kills, making sure that they are intended to do damage, but not significantly so. They're not going to put out a huge amount of damage against the enemy team. Their primary abilities are focused on crowd control to secure kills, so that's stunning or displacing enemy heroes. A significant portion of their playstyle is based around body blocking, or getting in front of other heroes, slowing them down, making sure they cannot escape, or displacing enemies so that you can single out an enemy hero to blow them up or to kill them quickly as a fight starts. They are also primarily based on zoning, or protecting areas around their team, or making sure that they can zone or body block or peel, as it's referenced, or get enemy heroes off of your allies as quickly as possible to make sure your team survives and the enemy does not. Significant heroes right now in the meta, at least a few of them are. First we have Chen. Chen just recently got buffs. He is a very strong, beefy hero that provides himself shields, and he's able to move quite quickly over the battlefield in reference to most tanks. So he's able to get around, disrupt the enemy team very well, damage them to deter them from engaging further on your team. He has very good chase, and he has several abilities that make it very good for him to peel for his team, or to make sure that he helps his team survive. Second, we have ETC. He is one of the most used heroes in both competitive and in casual play. He has one of the most impactful ultimates in the game to help secure kills for your friendly team. He has multiple forms of crowd control on his side, or displacement, that help him single out targets and acquire kills with his team behind him. Now, third, we have Muradin. Again, a very old school but very straightforward kind of tank. He has several stuns and abilities to displace or get in front of. Body blocking is a significant portion of his playstyle and very important. Again, we'll get to those kind of tactics later, but right now we just want to introduce the heroes and what types are available in the game. Now, fourth, we have Artanis. Chose him particularly in this scenario because he's not directly a tank, per se. He is more of a bruiser kind of character, so that is where the warrior term is more broad and encompasses all of these heroes. He has significant displacement on his side that he can use to move a hero on the enemy side to a different portion of the battlefield to be able to single them out and be able to blow them up. He does sustain his own shields. While he doesn't have a high health pool, he does have shields that help him survive and increase his survivability almost beyond any other in the game currently. Very difficult to kill while he has those shields. So it is a very irritating warrior to play against and has a very high standard for that type of hero. So warrior is more of an appropriate term, though tank can be used commonly for a lot of heroes in this scenario or in this class. Now, next up we have assassins. Now, assassins in the game are your primary damage dealers. They're the ones that kill enemy heroes most commonly. It is somewhat of a broad term because there are so many different types of assassins individually. But in general, it is a term used for a damage-dealing or damage-focused character within the game. They do typically use spells or auto-attacks to weaken and kill enemies, and rely on those to be able to effectively do their job or do their role in the game. They are the highest damage in the game on a character basis compared to other hero types. So in general, they are intended to do more damage than a tank, intended to do more damage than a healer or support character for sure, and they are intended to do more damage than a specialist character, because specialists are something we'll cover in just a second. They do typically, on average, have a lower health pool than other classes. So tanks or warriors are intended to be that frontline beefy kind of hero, while assassins are meant to more kind of flow in and out of battle to do their damage and to be able to be the most effective. Now, you do have some melee assassins that are intended to be kind of on the front line, but they are meant to also back out of that quite regularly to be able to sustain or make sure that they stay alive. So there is a balance for assassins. The more damage you do, the lower health pool that you have on most characters. There are multiple types, and we'll get to that in another video because we will again break it down further. But some assassins that are in the game right now that are quite strong. First, we have Falstad. He does have a global ability to fly rather than a typical mount. He does do either auto attack damage or ability damage with different builds for himself. We do have Lunara, who is a hero primarily based on auto attacks and right-clicking enemies, so modifying that with her abilities and her general skill set in general. We do have Jaina, who is a mage-type character and intended around casting area of effect spells or single-target spells and doing massive amounts of damage very quickly. She's a burst kind of damage character. And fourth one that I chose that I enjoy myself is Greymane. Greymane does have multiple characteristics between ranged and melee damage, which is a little bit unique for most heroes in the game. But again, he is a damage dealer. He is the one that comes in and hits those final blows and does massive damage at the drop of a hat. And that is something that is very characteristics of assassins. So they do significant damage if given the opportunity very quickly to your enemies or to your team if you give them the opportunity to do so. And the last specialization that we want to go over is specialists. Now, specialists are kind of unique. They're a little bit weird in that they don't really fit into any other category. They're kind of a fallback term for any other kind of hero. They don't really fall into any other kind of classes, assassin, tank, or healer, or support in that way. They do either mitigate damage, siege structures, or augment your team in some way that's not common to any other kind of class. Largely meant for experience gain or pressuring lanes or making sure that your heroes on your team perform better. So they do damage, but typically less so than assassins in most cases. That can vary from build to build with a specialist, but that's intended to do a slightly less damage than an assassin in that kind of role. They do have very, very unique playstyles. And again, this is one that will need to take a little bit more time because each different specialist can be so incredibly different and have such unique abilities and roles really in a game that are more specific to each character rather than as a whole as a specialist what you're trying to accomplish. Now, 4 heroes, again, that here I think best exemplify the type of specialist that we'd be looking at, or the type of hero. First would be Asmodan. Pushes lanes, does damage, has a large area of effect spell with his Globe of Annihilation, uses minions that he spawns himself in his General of Hell trait to push lanes and to be basically everywhere at once. Very fun hero to play, by the way, as well. Second, we have Sylvanas. Now, Sylvanas' trait does shut down enemy structures, so they are not able to fire. If she is focused on a mercenary camp, that mercenary is not able to attack, and does a very good job of pushing waves very, very quickly. So she's able, if left alone, to absolutely cripple your structures and be able to push lanes unbelievably fast that any assassin wouldn't be able to keep up with. Now, the third hero that we have is Abathur. He is perhaps the most notorious specialist because he doesn't directly do damage himself with his physical body. He's not a physical character that's going to be in a fight. Rather, he does have a symbiote that does implant on a friendly hero and does augment kind of a hat or a spawn on them that they're able to do damage from. That Abathur controls himself and is able to either grant shields, grant health, damage from that original basis or from the hero that he is standing watch over. He is also able to spawn minions to lanes that can push and siege structures very effectively if left alone. And he does a good job of being everywhere at once. Now, fourth, one of the newest specialists to be added to the game because he didn't really fit anything else. I was going to talk about Medivh, but I actually have Zagara here. Zagara, one of the tried and true specialists in the game. She's able to be everywhere with her Nidus network. She does damage, but she does spawn minions quite fast and is, in large part, intended to be a laner. She does bully a lane. She's able to set down her creep tumors that give you vision across the map. So you are able to gain an advantage in a different way than an assassin would be able to give you. She does give your team vision and give you sight on areas of the map that normally the other team would not be able to see. You're able to make sure that your team is safe from rotations, that you know where the enemy team is at a large portion of all times. Very significant advantage. Now, one that I did mention very briefly was Medivh. Don't have a particular picture up at the moment, but Medivh was a character that was added to the game that provides shields. Now, you would think shields would be similar to Tassadar, but not in the same way. It doesn't provide just a shield to them or give health after that or anything in particular like that. It's more just mitigating damage at the time. It doesn't give them a benefit going into a fight necessarily. It's a very short shield, but that does prevent any damage coming to them at all for that portion of that time. So it's not healing. It's not necessarily support. It's just damage mitigation. He is able to provide portals as well, do damage in a degree. Very odd hero that doesn't fit into any other kind of category. And that's where right now at least specialists fall. They're looking to reassess that here soon and to make sure that they can bring a more cohesive kind of title or bring another classification into the game to make sure that that's balanced out. But at least at the moment, specialists is that kind of catch-all for a type of hero that doesn't fit any other category. Now, one more time on the roles that we do have. First up was support, and those are going to be heroes like Uther that either provide healing or shields for your team that can increase your sustain. Make sure that your team is staying alive so that they can do what they do better. Make sure that you're keeping everyone topped up and make sure that everyone stays alive to be able to stay in the fight just a second longer to be able to gain that advantage for your team. We do have our tank, and that's going to be like ETC. ETC able to provide crowd control or displacement for your team. So singling out another target or jumping into the middle of everybody and kind of disrupting the enemy team. That is where tanks succeed, or warriors in general. Now, third up, we had assassins. That was going to be like Jaina, a mage, someone that does high damage, that is intended pretty much solely just to do that, is to damage other heroes and make sure that you can zone out areas and do high damage to anyone that comes in your area of effect. And finally, we had the heroes that don't really fit in anywhere else or are able to provide some kind of structure damage. And that is going to be like Azmodan as a specialist. So someone able to push lanes, someone able to be in multiple places at once, have a very unique playstyle that no other hero has or anything even similar. And these kind of heroes are a little bit harder to play on average or have something that's not really translatable to any other hero. So you need to learn them on a very individual basis. And again, we'll cover those at a later time. But right now, those are the 4 types of hero classifications or roles that are in the game: support, tank or warrior, assassin, and specialist. And understanding that is going to be a very good advantage to you to understanding how you need to build a team, what you need out of characters on your team, and where your strengths and weaknesses are going to lie. But thank you everyone for stopping by and checking out the video. I really hope that these are helping out in some kind of capacity, and we will see you all next time in the Nexus. And again, remember, if you are new to the channel and want to keep up on these new videos and understand how to be able to play the game as we dive deeper into each category and get further and further on in understanding the Nexus and how to play, definitely drop a subscription there or a like. And each of these videos are going to be coming out over the next several weeks and should be able to help. Thanks so much.